listeners. Hello, welcome back. It's For The Fans, week 9 of the Premier League, and there's 3 of us. We can never get a quartet anymore, boys. What's going on?
I missed the last 2. I'm back. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Jack. I'm joined today by Jack. Hi, Jack.
Hi, sorry, I've jumped the gun there, but I'm just excited to be here.
And
Proudy's gone to Paris.
Yeah, do we know why?
No, I think he's accidentally gone to Paris.
From what I can, from what I heard, is that he was invited and he felt like he couldn't say no. So Proudy's been wooed to Paris by a lady. So I mean
the silence says all you need
parents?
to. Well, you know, when we know more, we'll report it. Maybe we should do this as a live show. I don't know. But that's the
feature next week.
I'm also joined by Callum Keane. Keno, good evening.
Hello.
Good to see you. Welcome. You always say hello like you're on like you're doing the weather, and I'm in the distance. Right, we're here to talk about the football, but before the football, the feature's back, and you might be thinking, well, Proudy's not here. Who's taking on the feature? Is Ben going back to Featureland? Oh, no, I'm not. I hand you over to Work the Space.
Hello.
Hi, Jack.
Who's ready for a round of golf?
Well, I love a bit of golf. Keno, do you play golf? Have you ever played golf?
When I was a lot younger, like sort of school age,
okay,
like primary school.
I used to be quite into golf for a little while, but sort of...
Yeah, kind of before I started playing football properly.
So I did it after football. Anyway, Jack, your feature.
Right, so we're going to do Premier League...
Let's just talk about golf instead.
Premier League history golf.
Welcome to For The Fans. Get it?
Genius. Why have we not done a spin-off show already?
Christmas special.
We're branching out when we get the website.
So, the way that this works, gents, there are 9 questions. You're both going to answer the question. I'm going to give you a football team and a year. It's going to be a Premier League team and a Premier League year. You've got to guess what place they finished that season.
Not guessing again.
For every point you get
God's
away,
sake. Proud
you add a
guessing.
point on. Whoever has the lowest score wins.
Oh, okay. Right.
Do you follow? Do you see how this is like golf?
It's not awful. It's
not awful. So so basically, the lowest score wins. So you're going to say, for example, Manchester City, we're going to say 5th. If they're first, I add 4 onto my score, for example.
Exactly.
Got you.
You got it.
I'm excited.
Me too. Right, first season. I thought we'd start off easy. So we're going to go with 2015-16, Southampton. I'll go to you first, Keno. So Southampton, I mean, we're only talking, 2 years ago now?
Clive, 7-9. Should we use 7-9?
8th. Ben, you now get a guess as well.
I'm going to go 6th.
What if we get the same? What if we get the same answer?
I'm going to go 6th. I've used a 7-iron. We're going 6. I was just discussing with my caddy.
Your caddy's spot on because it was 6th.
Thank you very much.
So you get 0. So it's not quite like golf.
Basically, Liverpool gave up and Southampton finished above us. I remember.
So Keno, it was 2 on a par 1 there, mate. I'm afraid. So you are behind at this point.
Are we going to keep the golf analogy up for the rest of the show?
Maybe.
Should we pretend that we're a golf?
Let's get another one out there. So this is 2011-12, and we're going to go with Aston Villa.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, when 2011-12?
Correct.
Oh,
blimey. Was that before you were bad?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's the last 7 years have just been a blur of shit, so I can't really...
Steve, driver? Right. Go on, what are you thinking, Keno? Is it me or is it you?
But Ben, you go first.
Yeah, should we do the ABBA system? We should do the... We should, you know...
all right, I'm going to go 12th.
12th. Keno, have you got a guess for us?
I think 14th.
Oh, wow, gents.
I think I'm closer.
It was 16th, so I'm afraid Keno's, got it in 2 again. Ben, 4 for you, I'm afraid, there in the bunker.
So you were bad then? Oh.
Yeah, I think that was the first Lambert, or it might have been the McLeish year. I don't know.
It was kind of on the cusp.
I don't want to talk about it.
I believe a badness.
They're just funny to hear. Right, okay, keep going.
So we're going to go way back now. We've got to get a few of the old ones in before Keno was born. So we're going for 1995-96.
Oh.
And the team I want is Manchester City. So 95-96, Manchester City.
Okay.
I have a thought on this one.
No, don't. I mean, you can have a thought if you want.
So Keno, it is you to go first. We're not doing ABBA.
Yeah.
We're
not doing ABBA. Yeah, forget ABBA. God.
18th.
Ben.
I think they were poor.
That's annoying because that's literally what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Can I not say the same?
You can say the same.
All right, I'll go 18th as well then.
Well, gents, you've both got it in one.
Oh,
yes.
Zero.
Nice.
So there you
High five,
go.
Ben.
I'll be honest.
High five.
I'll be honest. That's not a clap sync. I'll be honest. I could just now. Who's leading at this point, Jack?
I mean, I can tell you now. I've got to add up the scores here. You're actually even after three holes. So
Okay, we could draw this very easily, Kino.
I mean, are you mutually agree? No, we're not having any more simultaneous.
All right.
What I might do is
shall
to
we
mix
hatch
it
a
up,
plan,
I
Ben,
might give you a year and you have to and a place, and you have to guess me what the team is as the tiebreaker.
Okay, fine. Let's go.
So none of this
it
fixing.
might not end like that. So
I
let's.
don't know
keep
I don't know what's going on.
Right, hole 4, part 2, 1999-2000, and the team we're looking for is Liverpool.
You're screwed here, by the way. 1999-2000.
Yes, it's Kino to go. Is it? No,
Marvellous.
it's Ben to go first, I believe.
We weren't good then. I tell you, that was a rough patch.
I feel
for
like
us.
this question though is fair because I can sort of go up or down from Ben's. Ben should have the knowledge, but I can sort of.
I'm going to go.
react
I'll go 6th.
6th. Kino, can I get a guess from you? I mean, not a guess, a shot from you.
This was when
Not
there's only
guessing.
3 Champions League spots. Remember?
What did you say, Ben?
I said 6th. This was the year. I think. I don't know. I don't know if you've got the league table for each other. This is the year Leeds were very good this year.
They were. They finished 3rd. So they're holding
Yes,
to
I
3rd.
reckon, okay. I think Liverpool came 5th. Then we'll go a little bit higher.
Well,
It's a pure guess.
I can tell you Liverpool came 4th that year. So Kino, you've got it in 4. Ben, you've got it in 2. On to the next one.
It's quite the disadvantage to go first, isn't it? Really?
So that was a par 4.
Yeah, I'm afraid.
There's pars for these.
I mean, there's not. But we can go with that if you want.
I don't know what's going on.
I'm trying to make it more dramatic. Right, 92, 93.
Right. Oh God. Right back to the dawn
And the
of
team-
time.
The
The
team
dawn of
is
time
Norwich
as football is
City.
concerned.
92, 93.
Yes, it's Kino to go first.
Dear. Obviously, I've got no idea.
I feel like this is one that a lot of football fans would not
Yeah.
have a rough approximation of.
I know exactly what it is. I'm going to get this spot on if you get this wrong, Kino.
Bottom.
Bottom.
You got 20. 20. What was that? 22nd back then.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That was 22nd back then. So
Yeah.
Is that what you're going with, Kino?
Yeah.
Right, 3rd.
they did come 3rd. Kino,
Excellent.
You
Kino's
just got
thrown
one
it.
in 19.
Kino's bombed it. Kino's put it in the lake.
That's out of bounds, isn't it? There. He's got out of bounds.
The best thing about that was, Kino, Villa came 2nd that year.
Yeah.
They
I'm sure
did.
we did.
Kino, it's over, mate.
Oh, sigh. Okay.
He's thrown his club into the lake.
Shake hands, man. Shake
Oh,
hands.
dear me. Only an affair now can ruin my golfing career. There you go.
It's too soon. Just don't crash like
No,
while
it's
trying
not
to
too
flee
soon,
the
it's
scene.
I know, that was awful. Anyway, greatest golfer alive. Right.
Right, we're going
let's keep-
2007, 2008.
Oh.
The team is Portsmouth.
Is it me or Ben?
It's Ben to go first this time.
9th.
None of this matters anymore, Ben.
9th.
So
I'll go 9th.
Can I have a guess from you, Callum? Portsmouth,
what
2007,
year?
2008.
I think 10th. I think they're a bit lower.
They finished 8th.
Oh, that's not bad knowledge, that. I threw that out fast as well. I was relatively confident.
I feel like I should just go back in the archives, Kino, to give you a chance of Ben royally ballsing one up.
No. Keep
No,
going.
it's fine. It's fine, Jack.
I need
it's
a
fine.
feature win. I've been getting battered recently.
Yeah.
The
I
team
won mine last week.
We're going
so-
with 98, 99, and the team is Wimbledon. And that is Kino to go first.
I've got a guess.
Do you feel sorry for me, listeners?
I'm loving this, to be honest.
I
I'm feeling
will
quite
say,
sorry for
Kino, like your average without the 19 is like 1 point something. It's actually about on par with
Yeah,
Ben.
come on.
Can we cross it off?
No,
Can
we
cross off
can't.
that
You know, I've not got a handicap. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing here.
one? Yeah. It's
Wimbledon, 1999,
Seventh.
7th. Ben, have you got a shot in mind here? Got a club?
Yeah, I think it was bottom half. I think I'll go 15th.
It was 16th, so there you go.
They weren't that good back then.
We've got 2 more to get through real quick. I feel like at this point they're a little bit arbitrary. Keno's stormed off the green.
I could have an absolute mare. I could shank a couple.
Well, if all you have to, you can mathematically not do bad if you just pick 10th every time. But
okay, thanks for that.
I should have told you that.
Okay.
Right, so the next one is 2005-2006 Blackburn Rovers.
Oh, blimey!
I think they were solid mid-table at this point.
I thought they were pretty good that year. I could be talking absolute. What year was it? Sorry,
I was about to say the wrong year. 2005-2006.
That was when they had Dufford. No, actually, no. It was after that.
Yeah, because he was at Chelsea.
He was at Chelsea, didn't he? Oh,
yeah.
Blimey! Is it you, Keno?
You go first, Ben.
You can go first, Ben. You're in the lead. Is that the rules in golf that you tee off first?
I'll go 10th, please, Jack.
Well, it's a good guess.
No, I genuinely think it probably was about 10th, to be fair.
Yeah, I do actually think they were kind of solid mid-table. But 11th.
11th for Keno, I'm afraid to say. He's done you again, mate. They finished 6th.
Ooh, that was a good year.
Very good year
for the Rovers.
Morton, Gamps, Pedersen.
And we're going to turn back the archives once more. We'll go 94, 95. And the team...
great feature.
Has it been a good... I don't know. I feel like you've enjoyed it, Ben, for one reason.
I have enjoyed it.
We're going to go with 94, 95, and the team I want is Queen's Park Rangers. Where did they finish? Ben, I'll let you go first again, just for the vague hope that...
I'll go bottom.
Bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, Keno.
I'll go
10th.
5th.
5th? Well, Ben, you have just scored 14. Keno has scored 3.
8th, was it?
It was 8th indeed, back in 1994-95. I've got some totting up to do, but I have been keeping track. Don't you fret.
Okay, good.
Ben, you have finished on 26.
26.
Callum, you have finished on a lot more than that. That's the technical term.
That's what they have to say at the Masters.
41.
Oh, wow. That is poor.
So
when you had one awful one. But, it does happen.
I will post the scorecard now in the podcast chat that we have just for the future generations. There you go.
You've got a scorecard. Oh, thanks very much. Yeah.
The formatting's a bit off, but that concludes the feature. I hope you've enjoyed.
It's a good feature. I'll clap the feature, Jack. I enjoyed it. I'll do a golf clap,
One day, we'll get some guests on and we'll do the International Ryder Cup with World Cup teams and where they go.
Oh, yes, please.
Well, the World Cup's in the summer, so I'll keep that one on the back burner.
Thanks, Jack.
Not clapping.
I wonder what the listeners will have thought of that feature.
They can let us know.
We'll let them be the judge if that was worse or better than Proudies. I'm still not entirely sure. I feel like you dazzled me with golf.
The rules were understandable in mine.
I do worry about football.
Well, I do worry about new listeners just think this is a golf podcast now. Anyway, let's
Rory,
get on to...
good round this week.
As Kina says, let's get on to some football, though, instead. And there was breaking news last night that Everton have parted ways with Ronald Koeman. Was it last night or this morning?
This afternoon, but
this
I'll
afternoon.
let you off.
Well, when we're recording. Regardless,
shall we do game first, Koeman after, or Koeman first?
All right, let's do game first. You've teased me there.
What came first, the sacking or the game?
The game
we'll
did. So it's Everton 2, Arsenal 5, and it was one of the most convincing performances we've seen from Arsenal all season. But then again, boys, Everton, much like they have been all year, are awful. Jack.
Yes, they are.
Is there
a smile?
There is a beaming smile. I'm trying to hold it away. I'm sorry. I just feel like it's a little bit odd because I feel like at the start of this season, everyone was looking at Everton as kind of this model club. It's like, look at this fantastic transfer business they've been doing. They've been going out there. They've been flexing their financial muscle. They're in the relegation zone, chaps, and I feel like this defeat kind of had a long overdue sacking kind of. It was the tipping point, wasn't it? And they just don't look very good, Everton. It just looks like Koeman hasn't got the players playing for them and that they just were a bit clueless, I think, as a unit.
What do we think that... Obviously, he's gone, right? So we can now post-mortem what the issue was. Was it him? Was it the players? Was it the system? Was it the transfers? Was it the Ross Bartley situation? Like, what's caused this... Like, it's pretty shocking to see them go from being a team that everyone expected. It felt like, anyway, in the summer, everyone was raving about Everton's transfers. Graham Souness predicted they'd finish 6th or finish in the top 6, and they're currently 18th, looking woeful every single week, if I'm being brutally honest. And what do we put it down to, Keno? What do you think the main problem's been? Is it obvious, or is it a mixture of everything? Like, well, it's hard.
As they've sort of carried on through the season, obviously culminating with this performance and Koeman's sacking, I think the problems have changed a little bit.
Okay.
But I think what got them off on the wrong foot this season and then kind of turned into this sort of overall like malaise that the club is in began with the poor recruitment following the losing Lukaku in the summer. I mean, it's an obvious place to point, but if you're trying to trace back all the things that have gone wrong that led to this point, that is the most obvious place to begin. I think in hindsight, looking back at the number of similar players that they signed over that transfer window, I think we did, and a lot of other people who were trying to analyse their summer thought that maybe they were just going for a different style of play, trying to change the way that they played a little bit to account for the goals that they'd have lost with Lukaku leaving. But it looks now as though there was no plan really in place. And they have really suffered because of the way in which they recruited during the summer. I mean, the obvious thing to say is the number 10s. That's the most clear kind of example of where they've gone astray, I think, with Klaassen, Rooney. Sigurdsson was the most obvious one for club record fee, 40 million. Yeah. And that none of them just seem to work together, and each player sort of... I mean, normally you try and build a team where players would complement one another, but all of the signings that Everton have seemed to have made over the summer actively sort of detract from the good of the team as a whole, if you know what I'm saying. Because bringing in Rooney means that you can't play Sigurdsson where he wants to play. You could perhaps get away with playing Sigurdsson and Klaassen in a 3 behind a proper number 9, but obviously with Rooney there, that impacts negatively on Klaassen, and vice versa, and none of this works. And I feel like the only player really in that sort of group of attacking players that have played a lot that's different is Calvert-Lewin. Obviously they've had Lookman out injured, but that balance, we talk a lot about a team's balance and sort of how important that is to get right. A lot of teams don't get it right. This is a catastrophic case of that, having the wrong sort of set balance of players in a squad, really. Yeah. And the recruitment is the most obvious thing. From then on, different things have happened, I think. Can
I say something really controversial? I don't think he should have been sacked. They lost 5 games in the league of their opening 9 games, but the teams they lost to included United, Tottenham, Chelsea and Arsenal. Like, they are games that you are not going into. I think the thing that's perhaps compounded them has been their recent form, where they have lost to Burnley and drawn with Brighton. And I guess on top of that, the Europa League games. But I feel like fundamentally, Everton will always give a tough start to the season. They beat Stoke on the opening day of the Premier League season 1-0. They made it through, obviously, to the group stage of the Europa League. But then you look at the teams they had to play against. They actually drew against City, but they lost to Chelsea, they lost to Tottenham, they lost to United. They've also obviously just played Arsenal and lost there. I just feel like it's one of those things where it was a downwards trend that Koeman couldn't quite overcome. And I feel like really the management have probably looked at off the back of that start of the season and gone, right, we're going to really judge him off the next kind of 4 games or 5 games. You know, you're playing Bournemouth in the league. You've got, I think, a Cypriot team to play in the Europa League. You've got Burnley, you've got Brighton, you've got Lyon. Let's try and, get something in there and see where we are. And I guess it was the manner of this Arsenal defeat in a lot of ways. I guess for a lot of Everton fans, they expect to see Goodison Park as a bit of a fortress, really. You expect to see the team play well. I just feel like when you look on it, yes, they are 18th in the league. It doesn't look pretty. But in reality, it was always going to be tricky to bounce back. And I think the issue that Koeman's kind of had is the players just really haven't been fighting his corner. And I feel like when you actually look at the league table, fundamentally, defensively, they've rolled on their back just too many times this year. They got lost very heavily at home against Tottenham 3-0. They got battered, obviously, by Arsenal. They just look like a shadow of themselves. I feel like if you're going to finish top 6 in the Premier League, you're always going to slip up occasionally against the likes of, go to a team like Brighton away. There are no kind of 3 points in the Premier League, and that's always going to be a tough game. And in some ways, to get a draw there, whilst it's not ideal, it's not the end of the world. But I think that compounded with just some atrocious home form where they've just been leaking goals left, right and centre, It's just left his. I feel like in a way he's kind of just lost the dressing room, to be honest, and they're just not fighting for him and perhaps not paying for him. I feel like the results on its own.
So I feel like you've said something controversial, but then you kind of contradicted yourself. If you think that he's lost the dressing room, then surely he should go. Very rarely can a manager wrestle it back.
I guess losing the dressing room isn't quite the right word, but I mean in terms of he's not got them fired up and motivated.
I guess from an Everton board perspective, last year Everton never dropped below 9th. At no point during the entire season. At this point last year they were 6th, and for the last 18 games of the season, last 20 games of the season, they were 7th. And they were comfortably 7th, never really actually pushing. Manchester United occasionally were pushing for 6th, but it never looked that likely. They were in no risk at all of going further down. I think they were 17 points clear of 8th. That is so far away now. Like, what's Everton's best finish this season now? 10th? Maybe 8th, 9th? Like, it looks like a pretty difficult job. And not only that, we mentioned the league form. In the Europa League, Everton have been pretty underwhelming. I mean, they scraped past a Slovakian team. They beat them 2-0 on aggregate over 2 legs. Won both games, but I mean,
worst start by any English team in the Europa League.
I mean, it's not like and in the group they're obviously bottom of the group with like a Cypriot side that they should really be doing better against. They drew with them at home as well. They scraped past Hajduk Split as well, the Croatian side, and they've lost to Atalanta away 3-0, and they've lost to Lyon. And they're 1 point from 3 games with it all to do. I mean, they play Lyon again next, and then Atalanta. That could be over. And all they worked for last year was to get into Europe, to get back in there, and then maybe push on even further. And they've gone so far backwards. They just look inept. I think one player that's getting little to no criticism from what I've seen. There's a lot of talk about the fact that midfielders don't gel. Michael Keane. We look at him at Burnley, right? He was one of the best players last year, and rightly got a big move to what is considered to be one of the bigger clubs in the league. Has been absolutely shocking. And this game at the weekend against Arsenal was, I mean, I don't know what he's doing. I don't, for every single goal, you can question his positioning, which is shocking. Maybe apart from the Sanchez one where he takes on 3 guys and scores. I tell you what, that Sanchez goal, by the way, the 5th one, if that's not scored in the last minute of the game, that is one of the best goals of the season. The way he
Fantastic finish.
The way he takes it across like the box and no defender gets near him, and then he puts it in the far corner. Really great goal.
I guess with Everton, though, I'd look at them and say you're only, 5 points behind Liverpool? I know the European forms were very different, but I feel like Everton as a side...
Liverpool have been poor, though. Like, I don't think Liverpool are the marker at this season.
I feel like... But no, what I mean by that is they're only 5 points behind Liverpool. I don't think we're seeing cries of Klopp out by any means, despite the fact that
do you not?
One of the last 5.
I'll tell you what, we'll talk about that in a minute. My word.
That's just I feel like that's an echo chamber rather than kind of common consensus, which I think with Koeman, like there's been a wider kind of outcry for it. I actually think, in a lot of ways, this is a panic change in response to the fact that Leicester have sacked their manager and the fact that Bilic is probably on his way out at West Ham.
I think there's something in that. I don't think that's totally...
I think they've looked around and gone... There's other Premier Leagues that go their managers.
Okay, well, interesting on that. Do you both think it's the wrong decision?
I think it's an understandable decision, but I feel like there's certainly a case to be made that he should get more time without knowing, obviously, what's going on behind the scenes. I feel like if the players have lost faith in him, that's something very different.
I don't think none of us expect Everton to get relegated, even with this side, right?
No, it's very difficult. I always think, unless it is clear, and you can maybe say like the Frank de Boer dismissal is an example of this, unless it's clear that the manager just isn't the right fit for the set of players, and they have such a catastrophic run as Palace did at the beginning of the year, unless it is so obvious that, you know, everyone can see, whoever you are, that objectively it's the right thing to get rid of him early, I think it's really difficult to say, because obviously they're on a bad run and they're not in good form. And I think the body language of Everton, particularly after Arsenal sort of went ahead in the game on Sunday even, the body language was clear that they weren't playing for the manager. You don't, without knowing what they're like from day to day on the training ground, how they're responding to what he's trying to say to them, it's difficult to know whether he should be giving more time, if you see what I mean. Yeah. Because their clubs can go through bad runs, but the players can still have confidence in the manager for him to turn it round. When you don't know if that's the case or not, it's difficult to say whether he should have been given more time. It could be, and this is why I kind of think it was the right thing to do. Koeman does have a slight reputation for being sometimes a difficult guy to get along with in that sort of context, and it could well be that the players are not sort of responding well to what he's kind of trying to get them to do, and he's not connecting with them well. And so the situation they're in at the moment, getting rid is the right call. If you see what I mean.
I think the next four. I think whoever comes in, I know, is it David Unsworth's currently taking the reins for a little bit. Whoever comes in, they've got Chelsea away in the Cup, Leicester away, which suddenly becomes a huge fixture in the context of the season. Then they go away to Lyon, and then they're at home to an informed Watford side. It feels like, I know they've lost to Chelsea this weekend, but it feels like an informed Watford side. There's a little bit, like we've said, they've been on a difficult run. It doesn't really get much easier for Everton. So they're clearly trying to get someone in that maybe can save the Europa League campaign. And I guess the question is the manager out there? You look at the managers they're linked with.
I know who the man is.
Well, David Unsworth is going to take over for now. I think he's taking the game this week. Sean Dyche is the favourite. David Moyes, their favourite. Well, David Moyes is their favourite.
That's the Messiah.
That would be an awful appointment, in my opinion.
It would be, but I kind of want to see it because it'd be funny.
And I know what he achieved last time, but I just think David Moyes has done literally nothing since he left Everton. Carlo Ancelotti's fourth favourite. I don't know how Everton have got that even on the page, to be honest.
Well, I mean, yeah, and he's even said that he's going to take 10 months out.
Thomas Tuchel was one that was really heavily spoken of.
Now, that would be
Everton fans want him, apparently. He's the man that Everton fans would quite like, from what I've seen.
I think if I was an Everton fan, I'd love Thomas Tuchel, but I think he's going to hold out for a bigger job.
Well, the heavy favourite at the moment is Dyche. Do we think... I mean, Burnley, right, this season have been pretty good. By all accounts, they're 8th right now. They're 5 points clear. Of course, Everton are a bigger club than Burnley. I don't think anyone would deny that. Do we think that would be a good move for Everton and Dyche? I think team-wise, it kind of makes sense because they're like... Basically, Everton have got quite a slow team. I think we all kind of agreed that they've got a couple of pacey players, but they're quite a slow team. And for a team that are quite slow, they're not very good defensively right now. They are pretty abysmal defensively. So
it's really difficult to say on Dyche because... Obviously, he's done a fantastic job at Burnley and has established them now.
Never seen him tested, though, ever, have we? That's the thing.
Exactly.
We've never seen him tested.
And Burnley have never shown, and I think maybe Marco Silva is an example of a manager that even in the short time at Hull, he showed the kind of football that attracts bigger clubs to sort of bring him in. Now, you can make the argument, obviously, for Dyche that he doesn't have the resources to play the kind of style that would attract maybe a top 8 club. But that is the only thing that you could say.
Then again, Everton tried that with Martinez and it didn't work. So
yeah, and as an Everton fan, I would be a little bit sceptical because of that. But as a neutral, I'd quite like to see him given it just to see how it goes and to see if he can, because there is a chance if he does well that we could have the sort of next kind of
England manager,
English manager. Yeah, sounds stupid.
Everton's above.
But it would be. It's an interesting kind of experiment to see if it would work.
Yeah, we should quickly talk about Arsenal very, very briefly. It's the best we've seen them this season. I think 5-2 looked really good. If Everton give you that much space, though, most teams are going to destroy you, and Arsenal are probably the best team at, well, maybe City probably this year, but Arsenal are very good at making spaces look bigger than they probably are. And Mesut Ozil was spoken about a lot over the weekend as being the standout player, and he was. But I think Ian Wright kind of put it right that when he does it against sort of a disjointed Everton side, he's still going to get criticised for not doing it in those big games. And I think Mesut Ozil in a game like this will always look good. He was especially good, and he's a very good player. But most players would have looked relatively good in that position.
I think it's just exciting to see like Lacazette, Sanchez, and Ozil playing up front as a three. This is the first time we've seen it all season.
That three in isolation is as good as a lot of three. Can you think of a better three? Would you maybe put De Bruyne, Aguero, or Sterling at the moment? You probably say maybe even Jesus in there. I mean, there's not many threes better than Ozil, Sanchez, and
I think on paper they're a great three, but I'm waiting to see them prove themselves. I think it's been interesting to see how they might change, how they shape up, and kind of how they synergise.
Those three aren't the problem with Arsenal. I think that's been clear for many years. Those three are not the issue. So I guess we'll see what moves on. But a good win for Arsenal, and Everton are in search of a new boss. Right, let's go to Wembley, I guess, if we have to.
Yes, we do.
It was Tottenham Hotspur 4. Liverpool 1, and not a good day at the office for Dejan Lovren, Jack.
I didn't watch the second half of this.
Have you seen what he's done to his Instagram and everything?
I mean, yeah, but he does this all the time. He's done this about 4 times.
I did not watch the second half of that game. I'd seen enough. I had absolutely no faith we were going to get back into it, and this is coming from someone who actually watched the second half of the City game.
I thought we were all right in the second half, actually. I thought we weren't actually that bad.
We may well have been. I actually thought the end of the first half we kind of adapted fairly well, but I just. Yeah, you mentioned Lovren. I think Mignolet has got away with one, really. I feel like so much of the blame's been put on Lovren that he's kind of missed out, because I think on the second goal particularly, I feel like Mignolet's more at fault than Lovren in a lot of ways.
It's quite scared goalkeeping, which I'm not a fan of scared goalkeeping.
It's goalkeeping coming from a goalkeeper who has absolutely no faith in the men who are put in front of him to defend him.
Yeah.
And that is a fundamental problem. Obviously,
that is an issue.
It's nice to see Salah chip in with a goal, but it was just, one singular hoofball at the pitch to our fastest player who springs, through the trap and scores. You can't rely on that as a means of victory, particularly if you're going to go and concede 4.
Yeah, that's true. I get we should start with Spurs, really. Kane, he continually looks like one of the best strikers in the world. I'm talking like top 3 right now.
I talked about my fantasy football team for Aguero last week, thinking, Liverpool defence, we've got a chance.
I'll get on to my nightmare of a fantasy week in a bit.
I look forward to that. But no, Kane looks electric. Both finishes are just striker finishes that you want to see from your front man.
I can't remember a player, and we'll see what Harry Kane goes on to do this year.
I was probably saying this in the chat about Shearer.
We were discussing, I was saying this in the chat too, Proudy, while the game was going on. I can't remember a player, particularly if you look at Kane's 2017 calendar year, right? I cannot remember a player since maybe Ronaldo in his couple of 40-goal seasons he had for United, maybe 10 years ago now, sort of dominating a league in the way that Harry Kane could do this year.
I will say, I think people are quick to forget this.
Maybe there was Suarez.
I would say Suarez did it for 2 years, and he was in that category. But I would agree that since Ronaldo,
exactly, and right now I'd put Kane with Suarez in that sort of that top tier of his position. But I really think he could go on to have that kind of year, and obviously that Ronaldo and Suarez are not English. I can't remember an English player doing that. Even someone like Wayne Rooney in his heyday at United, maybe since, as Proudy said in the chat, Alan Shearer, maybe in the 90s.
Jermaine Defoe. No, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. And it says a lot about how good he is. I can't wait for him to be England captain for 10 years and achieve nothing. I think that's going to be really exciting to watch us bomb out of tournament after tournament. But no, I think he's sensational. Honestly, I thought Son played superbly well. Thought Ali had a quiet game, scored a goal, but apart from that, didn't feature too much. And actually, despite the fact it's 4-1. Liverpool as a team didn't play that badly. Actually, we were pretty good. It was just defensively we are horrific. Apparently,
it was an interesting game because I think after about 25 minutes, it's no exaggeration to say Tottenham could have been 4-0 up.
Yeah,
but then following that, they kind of Liverpool actually stabilised up until the third goal that Tottenham scored. Was that the Ali goal just before half time?
Yeah.
From the free kick, and they'd actually managed to stabilise, and I think Klopp would have been quite happy to go into half time as 2-1 down.
I was going to say, I thought at 2-1 we actually had a chance. I thought if we go into 2-1 here, we're going to be, we'll come out second half, Klopp's going to bollock them, but I think that Ali goal just made us turn into non-believers. We had 64% possession and more shots on target, and I know stats mean very little in the context of the actual game, but when you look at that, it's hard to realise how you've lost 4-1, really. It's one of those things that, I don't know, it's a bit confusing. He hooks Lovren after 30 minutes. I mean, if we see Lovren again, I don't know.
The rumour with Lovren is that actually he's been having some really bad back issues and they've been dosing him up.
Yeah, but Klopp said it's nothing to do with injury. It was just, we needed a change.
I don't think in the game it was to do with that.
But I think allegedly, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, like he has been dosed up on painkillers for a lot of games, and there was actually a few times at the start of the game when they showed some close-ups of him where he did look very high, like out of it.
The thing is, right, I saw that, and then I saw that afterwards, like a week later, they kind of said, "Oh no, he's fine now. It was just a short-term issue that had been prolonging him for a little bit, but he's over it." I don't know if they're just saying that to make the situation seem better than it is, but. Regardless, right, if he's got these issues and he's on this sort of medication, don't just play Gomez there and bring Trent and play right back. I don't know why we're risking it against one of the most prolific strike units in the Premier League right now. It's crazy. He's clearly not cut out for it. Mentally, he's all over the place. Joel Matip is defending for 4 people at times as well, which is the problem. Joe Gomez, he's young and he's athletic, but some of his decision making is just baffling. Like he's all right, but. Again, he's one of these players that seems to be getting away with it. The fact that Alberto Moreno is escaping criticism and Liverpool are conceding 4 kind of says everything too. It's just disappointing to see us crumble in these big games. It happened against City, with 10 men, but even then we were poor. And then in Spurs, obviously this is sort of the staple of Liverpool, right? They'll stumble against the lesser sides, but put up a real fight against the big teams, and that's not happening so far this season. Apart from the Arsenal game, obviously, which is not good. There is talk of Klopp getting sacked, Jack. There's people on Twitter, they're in the know. So I don't know.
I do feel like there is an inquest to be had, but I don't think the result of that should be a sacking. I feel like when you look at the City result and this result in isolation of everything else.
But how long can we say that before it's not in isolation? Well, how many times can this happen? Then it's not in isolation anymore.
What do you think, other than Klopp being sacked, what do you think should happen going forward? Because there are, I think talk of him being sacked is premature.
It's not premature. It's not premature. It's absolutely ludicrous. And these people that sit on their arse at home and go, "Oh, well, have you seen Rodgers' record? He's got the same record as Rodgers." It's like, do you remember what happened when Rodgers left? And then do you remember the fact we had the 6th best team last year and finished 4th and played fantastically all season? Like you give me this Suarez. I'm just going to rant again. You give me this Rodgers comparison that everyone seems to do, right? Rodgers had one of the best players in the world being a huge part of his team. He had an informed Daniel Sturridge, which not seen for 3 years. For a very good Raheem Sterling. Coutinho was there as well. Steven Gerrard was part of that team. And we looked sensational. We don't have Steven Gerrard, Luis Suarez, a really good informed Daniel Sturridge or Raheem Sterling. It's not the same. Yeah, we've got some good players, but it's not comparable. And to say that Liverpool haven't improved under Jurgen Klopp is bollocks. Yes, our defence is dreadful and it should have been addressed and we should have looked for other options outside of Van Dijk. But I feel like... But what's the new man? I said, okay, my point is this, I tweeted out earlier on. Unless Carlo Ancelotti comes in and he brings Hummels, Ramos and Thiago Silva with him, then keep it as it is. Like, there's no one going to come in and make it any better because we've still got the same shit defenders. So you might as well just carry on doing things under his systems.
I think that the point that critics of Klopp make, though, is that he's had 5 transfer windows and has only spent £12 million on defenders.
In which case that could well be an FSG issue. But as I said at the transfer window, Jurgen Klopp's option was to wait for Van Dijk and hope he comes in January or he gets him at the end of the season, or spend 40 million on a defender that he doesn't actually want. Like, that might be better than Lovren. But you've got to remember that people have short memories, right? Back in the last season, Matip and Lovren looked really good together, and people forget that there was a period of sort of 8 or 9 games where they were playing together in a back four. You notice as well, Nathaniel Klein's not there this season. Like, he's a big part of how our defence operates and how he gets forward. Trent's good, right? But Klein's got a little bit more about him upstairs, just because through his experience. Our defence isn't like... Jurgen Klopp's seen our defence not be awful. He's seen Simon Mignolet come back into form. So he probably thought, we can risk it for 5 months and see how we go. And suddenly, it's sort of backfiring in his face. And there's not much he can do if individual errors happen week in, week out. So I've gone a bit of a rant there, but it just pisses me off.
I think for me, the big thing is the fact that in 9 games, Liverpool have lost 2. They were away against City and away against Tottenham.
And we're top of the Champions League group.
We've also played Arsenal and United in that time in the league. The only team outside the inside the top 5 we've not played yet is Chelsea. There is going to be an easier set of 10 games coming up. Yes, we need to get points from it. Yeah. Yes, we need to stop drawing. There's been 4 of those.
That's when I'm concerned, though, Jack.
Newcastle and Burnley. If in 10 games' time
we're
down in 10,
then fair enough. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly that. If we're still there in 10 games' time, we've played most of the bottom half, at that point you can look at Klopp and go, what's going on, mate? But if we're in sort of 5th at that point, which is probably where we'll be, then this talk is crazy. Absolutely crazy. There's not a better manager out there than Jurgen Klopp. Like, Ancelotti's just been sacked because he's failed. Like, I don't... dearie me.
Yeah.
Oh, my blood is boiling.
But Newcastle, Burnley and Watford are above us, and that is not a good sign.
I know, but if we win one game and they all lose, then we're above them all. Well, suddenly we're in 6th and everything looks a little bit more hunky-dory, you know? But there we go.
Such is football.
Indeed. We'll take a short break and we'll be back with the rest of the Premier League action after.
So you guys can cool down.
I tell you, I'm going for a drink.
Take a deep breath.
Strong stuff. Right, listeners, welcome back. We've calmed down a little bit since the last time you heard us. I've calmed down just a touch. We're going to go to Stamford Bridge.
I was at my most mad at the feature. I'm most cold
you've had my rant to calm down. We'll start at the Bridge then. 4-2 to Chelsea was not easy though, and Watford, who have looked really good this year, took a shock lead, and then Mitchie came on. He listens to the show, boys, 100%. I was slagging him off last week and saying how he's not cut out for this football lark.
I think he just wants an inform in FIFA.
It wouldn't surprise me if that was his main motivation.
He did tweet within like 10 minutes of the game finishing, look forward to my inform. Or something to that effect.
But I don't know. Did we talk about this? The video where he's revealed, like his cards revealed to him. I don't know if we talked about it on the show. Two of the guys, I can't remember what website they represent, but Vuj and Poet, if you know who they are, you know who they are. They like reveal his stats to him, and he's just sitting there swearing at them, going, "No, absolute bullshit, fucking bullshit." It's like constantly just. That was probably a really inappropriate accent, but he's sort of got this French.
He's not happy, is he?
He's got this French Belgian twang to his voice, and he wasn't happy. Basically, it was an angry Arsene Wenger is what I went for there. It didn't really come off very well. But anyway, he was annoyed about his card, so it's no surprise to me that as soon as he comes off the pitch, he's thinking, right, tweeting EA Sports. I'll look forward to my inform, and I'll definitely get one as well. I'm sure of it.
I think this scoreline flattered Chelsea.
You are a big fan of Watford, Callum Keane.
Come
on.
I'm a big fan of Marco Silva.
Okay.
And I like what they've done this year.
Would you take him at Villa?
What do you think?
Okay.
Villa are in
the playoffs, mate. They're loving it.
Listen, up to fifth, it's going to be us
all
and
right.
Wolves 1-2.
Watford.
Anyway, I think for a lot of this game, Watford were not just like on parity with Chelsea, they were better than them. They created, particularly in the second half, a lot more chances than Chelsea, sort of clear-cut chances. And I think had Richarlison scored what was definitely the miss of the weekend, probably, the second one, the header was a bad miss, but the first one will be miss of the season contender. And I think if he puts that away at that point in the game, Watford were cooking on gas. They were playing very well, and they could have really got on to sort of just to kill the game at Stamford Bridge. And as it happened, Richarlison obviously missed that, and Chelsea slowly eked their way back into the game. And I think that the fourth goal flattered them a bit.
Yeah,
they probably deserve to draw or maybe narrowly win if you're giving them the credit of taking their chances. But Watford were excellent, and Chelsea not convincing for me at all for not the first time this year.
I think the thing that really hurt Watford was actually when Pereira went off. I think he got injured in like the 65th minute. They were still 2-1 up at that point because he was looking like a real handful, and there was kind of this defensive switch, which I think
really
was
important
forced
player
upon them. He was, and he actually missed the start of the season through injury as well. And I know for a while they were kind of playing Takore cleverly, and then Capoue is kind of the midfield three with cleverly having a little bit more license to go, whereas Pereira just as this out ball. He's a real nuisance, and I think, Chelsea, they were struggling with that for a lot of ways, but I feel like this performance as a whole for Watford really hinged on that kind of mentality switch with that sub to go more defensive. And I think actually on the flip side for Chelsea, obviously great for Michu to come off the bench and grab a brace, but I feel like this is the real contrast between Conte's Chelsea and Mourinho's Chelsea. I feel like 2 years ago, if this is Mourinho in this situation, there isn't that kind of response from the players.
Yeah,
and there was a genuine passion, I feel like, both from Conte, when they got that fourth
jumping
goal,
into the crowd,
and from the players as well. You could see they were really fighting as a unit. And to be honest, I feel like Chelsea in some ways were a little unfortunate to be 2-1 down. I feel like despite only narrowly kind of bossing possession, there was certainly opportunities for them. And I feel like when Watford missed those opportunities, you kind of just had that nagging doubt in the back of your mind that with 25 minutes left, it wasn't going to be as easy for Watford, and Chelsea were really going to have a go. And unfortunately, Watford just couldn't weather that storm.
Watford really reminded me...
Having said what I said, I was going to say, having said what I said about the scoreline flattering Chelsea, I don't actually disagree with you. I think they definitely showed a lot of passion and fight to get back into that game and to end up winning it. As a Chelsea fan, if I was a Chelsea fan, I'm not as a Chelsea fan, if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be worried that in terms of just quality of play, Chelsea were outplayed by Watford for large portions of that game. Yeah. That would worry me, I think.
Do you know what I was going to say? Was that Watford strike, and I know they're not this, obviously, but they look like the team that's just won the championship in the way that they're playing so far this season. Like,
it's funny you were going to say that, because I had another point I was going to make. Go on.
Is it similar to that?
Well, I was going to say there is something in this Watford team. Obviously, I don't think they're going to win the league because there are
do you not?
Much better
right, hang on, listeners.
Sorry, I was taking a drink there.
He's putting that. No, let's not get past that. You're putting that out there now. We're not tipping Watford for the league. As a podcast, I think I'm going to co-sign on that. Jack?
But they do remind me of Leicester.
I want to say they're scarily good, but I said that about Stoke, and they've lost like 4 of the last 5 and are now just outside the relegation zone. What I
was going to say, if you let me finish,
off the rails.
Well, they're not going to do a full Leicester and go win the league. They remind me of Leicester because there are players in there like Decore who's kind of putting in a Kante-like season at the minute. Not quite in the same manner, but he is a real breakout player. He scored a great goal.
No, I know what you mean.
So
we're being a bit facetious.
Just to check, so you're saying Marco Silva's going to go to Everton, Ranieri's going to come back to Watford, and they're going to win the league. I'm on board with this narrative.
I think Watford play some quite good football, and they're quite exciting. I still think they've got a bit of a soft centre, and I think we've seen it against some of the better sides that they've struggled. I don't think the teams they've beaten, they've got one standout result for me against Arsenal, and that's kind of it, really. I feel like, as I think I put it in our chat we've got, I said they're classic sort of 10th, 12th place fodder for me. Now, they're pretty good, but this won't last that long. I mean, Watford, prove me wrong by all means, but I just think there's a few sides below them that I expect to go above them, and I think their position right now is a little false. I don't know. Like they're fifth, and we should give them credit, and I shouldn't be sitting here poo-pooing them, right? But at the same time, I will not be surprised if in a couple of weeks they're not as high. We'll put it that way. I can see them being around the sort of that 10th, 11th position. But a decent performance for them. Still don't win though, and that's why they remind me of a newly promoted side, because they're playing well but not winning, and that tends to happen to the teams that come up. Speaking of teams that came up, boys, we should talk about this. They're going to be gutted they weren't in the first half of the show. It's the biggest result in their history, arguably. It's Huddersfield 2, Manchester United 1, and I mean, Moy.
Victor Lindelof is like Lovren in disguise, isn't he?
Well, he cost more. I'll say that much. He did cost more, but Huddersfield with a standout result this week in the Premier League for me, and David Wagner. His celebrations at the end. It was a very wet day in Huddersfield. I don't know if you saw him and Mourinho sort of hug at the end. It was within the rain, and but I say a great result. And Manchester United, who have looked, I mean, this was a gimme, was it not, gentlemen?
Yeah,
I don't think there are any gimmies in the Premier League anymore.
Oh, shut up! Yes, there are. There are gimmies.
This wasn't it, and it wasn't.
So now we're saying there's no gimmies.
I feel like it's wrong to say there are games which are just a free win. Where you can
I will say you would not be saying that if Palace didn't get a shock result last weekend. This would not be coming out of your mouth.
They didn't have a shot on target last time.
Okay, but what I'm saying is United had 78% possession, but didn't do that much with it. 3 shots on target from 78% possession. Suddenly, that draw against Liverpool, when you see what Spurs did to Liverpool, looks a little bit misplaced almost, like they should have maybe gone for it a little bit more. Okay, easy to say in hindsight, of course, but we should give Huddersfield the credit. Moyes got a goal again. Didn't he score earlier this season? And we were raving about how good he was.
He did. He scored a very nice goal.
Newcastle, was it? Yeah. And then Deportre, is that how you say it, Jack?
We'll go with it. It sounds good. Right.
Deportre, that'll do. 33 minutes. They took a 2-0 lead, and then it wasn't until the 78th minute that Rashford got his goal. Playing, well, he scored it from a central position, because the ball from Lukaku, the cross from Lukaku, by the way, was really good. Isn't that weird how strikers are really good, I feel, at crossing the ball sometimes?
Harry Kane and corners.
Alan Shearer, right? Alan Shearer was like a fantastic crosser of the ball. I feel like Kane is as well sometimes. Daniel Sturridge has also got quite a good cross-field ball on him.
I think it's the art of striking a football, isn't it?
Yeah,
but I think it's also the fact that, and I think this is the case of the Lukaku one, strikers know where they want the ball to be. You know, they're often the guys on the end of it, and they know exactly where to place it to make it easy.
As soon as you put them on the wing, they can't do it anymore.
It's okay sort of in isolation in one. They
can do it now and again. But they're 5 points behind City now, United, and that makes things a little bit not very comfortable for Mourinho. He's going to be looking at City and thinking, I don't think he'd ever admit it, obviously, but they look really good. They've fallen off the pace a little bit. Spurs are now 3 points behind. Spurs are level. United, 20 points. So, I mean, it's going to be, the shootout might actually be for second this season. Who knows? It could be between Spurs and United. Who finishes second to City. The City looks so good. We'll come on to them maybe a little bit later on. But for Huddersfield, great result. I love seeing this. I love seeing that the newly promoted sides beat a giant. And there's nothing better than to that Huddersfield fans, they get promoted. They've not been in the Premier League ever, have they? So it's such a lovely moment to see them celebrate.
It sounds silly as well, but they kind of needed this result because they hadn't been in great form. I think they were winless in 6 or 7 games, and they'd not been playing great. And it was starting to look as though, they were beginning to come down to earth, and the reality of the league was beginning to bite. And so this is, put them back on cloud 9 again. So hopefully they can build on it. And
they're at Anfield next weekend.
As I say, I'm delighted as a Liverpool fan that we have to play them off the back of that result. I will say, for United, I think big questions got to be asked of Victor Lindelof. Brought in for a lot of money. Obviously, Phil Jones has been battling injury and has kind of been playing with a knock for the last few weeks, I believe. Obviously, was subbed off after 20 minutes in this game. And I don't want to pin the sole blame on him, but he just looked like a fish out of water. I know Mourinho kind of trialled him earlier on in the season in a Premier League game and kind of then demoted him to only playing in Europe. And I feel like, as a United fan, I'm looking at the fee that was paid to Benfica and thinking he's got to get better, hasn't he? Because at the moment, he looks like the kind of player who he could be in a Kurt Zuma situation if he's not careful, where he gets loaned out to a mid-table Premier League
Stoke.
club.
Imagine being at Stoke.
I think though, seeing Lindelof play, United fans should will probably remember more than most that they've had defenders, particularly I'm thinking of Patrice Evra and Vidic, and most memorably that haven't initially taken to the Premier League and gone on to come good over time. So I think it'd be quite premature, considering the amount of options that United have.
He's 23 though. It's not like he's 20, 21.
No, but I think there's a difference between sort of learning as a young player and then also getting used to the Premier League. I don't think those two things are the same thing. And United have got enough cover in that area that they can gradually sort of let him grow accustomed to the league. And so I think it'd be too premature to write him off at this stage.
It's going to be a test of his mentality now to whether he does that or whether he sort of disappears. We've seen examples of both. So, I mean, he's going to have to do one or the other. Where do you want to go now? I'm going to open it to the floor. Where do you want to go?
We could talk about Brighton's first ever Premier League away win.
Well,
the London
tell you what,
Stadium.
Koeman's gone. Bilic, I hope he didn't have a bet on himself to get sacked first, because my God, did that backfire. West Ham are dreadful as well. Well,
yes.
West Ham and Everton, I think someone out of us said we thought Everton would have a good year. I said West Ham would have a good year. How wrong were we?
West Ham would get relegated.
I mean, you're so smart, Jack. I'm an idiot. That's the problem. And Bilic apparently is going to be given more time, but he's got...
I can't remember what I said.
But he's got... well, that suggests Everton were going to finish very highly, Keener. But no, West Ham have had an awful time of it. They've now lost 3-0 at home to Brighton. I actually said a few weeks ago that Brighton would be the game that saw him sacked, and the fact he's not gone. I mean, they drew with Burnley last week, and then they've got a heavy defeat to Brighton.
I mean, they've got Palace next. If he loses that's GG, no surely.
Well, yeah, they've got Spurs in the Cup, haven't they? And then they've got Palace. So it's going to be interesting. And then typically they'll sack their manager, and then they'll play at home to Liverpool and beat us 4-0 or something. So that's going to be great fun. I mean, the pessimism I've got at the moment is
West Ham just
painful.
Look old and slow. It's almost like they've signed loads of old and slow
them and Everton play in a really similar hapless way.
They do, actually.
At the moment. It's really weird. It's really weird to see two teams that have been staples of the league.
Maybe they should do... Well, it's a bit late now because he's been sacked, but maybe they could have done Wife Swap. You know, that show where you go to each other's homes and you get the two housewives.
Yeah. What are you suggesting? Manager swap?
Yeah.
Okay, just to be clear, I thought you were. There was a part of me there thinking, is he suggesting the wife of Bilic and Koeman just swap?
That might help the on-pitch performance.
Maybe that was the cause of some of the... No, I don't want to speculate.
To be fair, John Terry and Wayne Bridge signed up to that, but Wayne Bridge wasn't aware.
We should say as well, you mentioned at the beginning of this little segment about the predictions. There was one prediction that yours truly did make, which seems to have been strengthened on the evidence of this game, and that is
Brighton for the league.
Murray.
Oh no, go on, Glenn Murray.
Mr. Glenn Murray, who bagged a brace.
I've got to have a rant here. I checked fantasy football. I checked fantasy football after the Friday. There is some geezer in Egypt who played as triple captain and then had Glenn Murray as captain for this game. Does he know something that the rest of us don't? Like, who does that?
That is suspicious. I had a triple captain on Gabriel Jesus, who played 10 minutes at the end of Man City's game. So
that's a shame.
Did you get your 3 points with that?
Yep,
worth it.
I did.
I hate triple captain. I never use it out of fear.
Speaking of fantasy football, we're doing awful this year. Me and you especially are doing very badly.
I'm doing the show
I had a very
slow
slow start.
Like, people might be a bit suspicious. You know, I bigged myself up at the start. I've got a bit quiet. I'm still 18th in For the Fantasy with us.
Yeah, that's good.
And I do also,
actually.
out of everyone in For the Fantasy, I have the highest total points benched with 133. In 9 weeks, I've benched 133 points.
Anyone else not care? Good.
No.
Thanks for that, Jack, who's filled us in. I think we should go quickly through the other games because there weren't too many standout results. Leicester beat Swansea. Big win for Leicester considering they just sacked their manager. And
well, are Leicester going to appoint a caretaker who does really well again?
Probably.
So maybe Michael Appleton will win his first 5 games in charge. And
thing is, that would probably happen. There was a lot of talk that maybe, I mean, I was sort of peddling this a little bit, that Leicester should have sacked Shakespeare at the end of the year. Or not sacked, but sort of relieved him of his duties.
Yeah.
Because, he got him safe, but it was clearly that the old regime wasn't working. He had a summer.
And it was also clear that he, in the way that he'd got them to play well, was not changing anything, going back to the formula that had worked well for them and won them the league. But he hadn't really developed the team at all. He'd used a lot of the same players to sort of do so, and they'd lost quite a few players. Obviously, Kante had gone the year before, but then they lost Drinkwater this summer, and it just looked as though Shakespeare wasn't kind of really making anything change at Leicester.
Yeah,
so, you do have a point.
So again, we'll probably see them finish top half now. Is that the manager? So good luck to Leicester. Manchester City 3, Burnley 0. Just an imperious performance, as I said before. Aguero set the record for most City goals, which is very good. I mean, 177,
amazing.
Very impressive. I mean, I said that like I was a bit posher than I probably am, but it is very good.
I think City fans, particularly sort of older City fans, will be probably a bit wary of kind of almost overhyping the post sort of Sheikh Mansour era, but he will surely go down as one of their all-time great players, right?
Oh, well, absolutely.
He's now their record scorer. And obviously the things that he's done as well, winning them the title in such kind of spectacular fashion the first time around, and that sort of thing. Like they'll. For as long as the club exists now, I think there'll be a place.
Well, I was going to say, like records. This is going to sound like a really weird thing to say, but records like that are harder to set these days because of the way in which players are transferred and moved on. It feels like the turnover is so much higher that you don't get these players that stick around for a long time.
Definitely.
So Aguero setting that record, you suspect that record, especially at a club like City. You're not like, even with someone like Jesus, right? You can imagine in 5 years he gets his move to like PSG or Real Madrid or Barcelona just because that's what happens in football now. Whereas with Aguero, he was at the start of that little wave, and now he's done it. It feels really quick. It doesn't feel like Aguero's been in the league that long. I think it's like 7 years.
He has been.
But
When you think about
he has
it,
been there for quite a while now.
Deserves a lot of credit as well for sort of being so. As you say, it's quite rare in football these days to see a player that is so loyal, particularly who's not kind of come through the club.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not different to say someone like Harry Kane, who you could see being a one club man. Aguero's sort of bought in more ways than one, sort of bought into the City kind of project.
I'll put it this way: if you just said when he signed, if you said to me he's still here in 2018, I wouldn't have believed you. I'd have gone, there's no way. Newcastle 1, Crystal Palace 0. The Battle of the Pardew. Obviously not in charge of either.
Well, he's been linked with the Leicester job, hasn't he?
I would quite like to see him back.
Would you? In a way. I quite like him seeing him on TV looking sad, though. I quite like that.
Yeah.
I think it was ESPN who were reporting that he'd handed in his CV at Leicester. I like the idea he went in person and dropped it off.
No, I like to think he's sat in his car and then he sees the owners get out and he's like, right, hang on 2 seconds. Undoes his seatbelt, gets out, runs. Oh, that's me getting out of the car, apparently. And runs over and goes,
I like the idea of
hi, I'm Alan.
Closing the window and he's trying to stuff it through.
Shoving it in front of their face, going, hi, I'm Alan. Yeah, no, I used to manage in London. Yeah. Take this, enjoy this. Did you roll with West Ham once? Got to get a FA Cup final. Speaking of this game anyway, 1-0 to Newcastle. Moreno gets the goal. Came on as a substitute, got the goal. But the talk of this game for me was the Johan Cabaye tackle. Have we all seen this?
I haven't.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, anyway, he basically 2-foots someone and gets a yellow card. It's a really bad tackle.
I mean,
but as you two haven't seen it, it was on the headline. It was awful.
Palace did have a shot on target in this game, and I had Rob Elliott in my fancy football team.
I do, when I try and watch highlights before the show, I do try and sort of look for games that stuff happened in.
I just look at Palace games and go, they don't have a shot on target. That would be enough to talk about.
But no, the Cabaye tackle, obviously a former Newcastle player as well. St James's Park were convinced it was a red card, and in fairness, probably could have been. Late challenge, 2-footed. No, it was like his legs were sort of split. It was a bit of a scissor action. Hate that sort of thing. Anyway, that was the talking point from that game. Neither of these two saw it, so we'll move on. Bournemouth 2, Stoke 1. That's a massive result for Bournemouth, boys. Huge result.
There are a lot of managers that are not doing very well.
Well, they went 2-0 up after 18 minutes, and then Juve gets a goal in the 63rd, but it never really quite clicked for Stoke.
The atmosphere, one thing I noticed from that game, watching the highlights, was the atmosphere at Stoke. What was renowned for being such a good atmosphere for so long was really sort of toxic.
Can I just bring up a point, by the way, on Stoke? Well done, Bournemouth, before you fans think we're not talking about you, because we're not really. But boys, I'll say this quietly. Fraser Forster isn't playing very well. Pickford's at Everton, Joe Hart's at West Ham, and even Jack Butland's at Stoke are goalkeepers for the World Cup. I mean, Tom Heaton is favourite at this point.
Well, I don't know. It's not necessarily there. I think with keepers it's a bit different, right?
Well,
it's not there.
yeah, but I'd rather they were in a winning team. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And none of them are playing very well. So I'm a bit worried. Is there anyone out there that can maybe take the reins?
volunteer as tribute.
No, not you. I think I think Tom Heaton is a contender. That's worrying. Oh, dearie me. Not Rob Green.
Phil Jagielka's
don't think about it.
getting
No, but
Don't-
I'm just thinking about them all and realizing that none of them are like in a team which is in form. And then you're looking at like the next best centre back hopes, Ryan Shawcross. Jack, he's struggling over at Stoke. They're not doing very well at the
He's
moment.
going to get a big move. He's going to be
shut up. He's 34 or something. He's 31 even, maybe.
replacement.
Yeah, but then Michael Keane, he's not playing very well. Apart from John Stones, I'm not. Oh. Anyway, I'm not feeling overly happy about the situation we're in right now as an England fan. Is there another game we should talk about? There probably is. West Ham #WBA. that was
yes.
good.
We tweeted one out there. Lots of Pulis outs. #Pulis out.
My favourite tweets today have been Pulis needs the Everton job. Pulis would be perfect for Everton. #WBA. So I feel as if they're trying to get him over there. But no, just. Look, any time a goal goes in against West Brom, just type into the Twitter search bar #WBA. Just enjoy your afternoon. Enjoy it.
They are really unhappy. It's a really good example of what Tony Pulis does to your club. Like, you might be all right. You might be fine, comfortably ensconced in mid-table. He's like
Oh,
no one
he's a
enjoys it.
stepdad who's come in. You're the stepchild, and he's bringing in money. He makes your parents happy, but you're just sat thinking a little bit.
Makes your parents happy.
Well, it makes your mum happy.
I mean, this has got weird, hasn't
The
it?
mum is the football club and the owners, to be clear. As a child, you're the fan. You don't really get a say in what's happening with that relationship.
He might take good care of your mum. You've got a nice house. He keeps the money coming in, as you say, but he's still not your real dad.
All right, let's just one tweet then.
Really
dear official Santa. I love the fact Santa needs to put official in front of his name to begin with. No, dear official Santa, it's a bit early, but myself and many others would be grateful for an early Christmas present by removing Pulis from West Bromwich Albion. Any chance? ? Wink face. Oh dear. I mean, they're not doing that badly, are they? Okay.
They are winless, and I think 7.
Okay, get him out then.
They aren't doing that.
I think the issue for them is that this year was meant to be the year of a bit of evolution with them, and they've just not. They've won 2 in 9.
I think this one, Everton, you jammy bastards. At least you can get rid of your manager. #WBA. Pulis out. I didn't be jammy. I wonder if you'd describe any Everton fans in that matter right now.
I'm just glad that West Brom are playing it as they are, because otherwise that #WBA, which I think was brought up right at the start of the year, it wouldn't be very fun, would it? Now they weren't 13, but 2 wins in 9. I want to slate them for that, but Liverpool are only 3 points ahead.
It's not all about Liverpool, Jack. We get accused of that, so we've got to stop.
Careful. Be careful.
Right then, I think that's going to bring us to the end of this week's show. It wraps up nicely at just over an hour. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you want to find more from us, at ForTheFans Show on Twitter, ForTheFansShow.com. And of course, we're on YouTube. If you enjoyed the podcast on YouTube, drop a like on it by all means. And we'll see you again next week, hopefully with 4 of us. Thank you, Jack, for joining me.
Thank you.
And Kino, it was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Next week, there may well be some more golfing features, so stay tuned for that.
Nah, I can't do another golf. I'm going to be too busy playing Football Manager.
Probably be doing a French-based one, I would imagine. It'll be baguette-based.
We'll be speaking French.
Doing me. That brings us to the end then. We love with care. For us at For The Fans, we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.